Every game has its share of character haters, no question. You can play the most baby game out there and then find one guy on the internet going, yeah, this guy's definitely bullshit. Smash is no exception, and given Smash has had 5 games throughout its lifespan with different metas and characters in each, I thought it would be interesting to go through each game and rank them based on how concentrated character hate was in each. Now keep in mind, I hate hate. I hate talking about hate too, but it's important to acknowledge where as a community we go wrong in order to take steps to better ourselves. With that being said, I wasn't always in the Smash community throughout its glory in the past 2 decades plus. I thought this guy sucked in Brawl and that this motherfucker was actually extremely annoying to play against. But I was 10 years old when Brawl came out, so who cares what I thought? I'm going to be ranking this list based on which characters the community as a whole had a clear bias against. Who if you main this character in a room, there would be at least one person going, oh, seriously? And so the more concentrated this animosity is towards one character, the higher up in this list this game will appear. Before we get into it, let's talk about what garners hate in fighting games. Defensive play, whether in sports, gaming, or otherwise, is mostly frowned upon by the general audience. While a great technique and oftentimes the best to go for, it results in one-sided or slow-paced matches, which is the opposite of what people usually want to see. This is no different in Smash, and as a result, anything that greatly slows down the pace of a game can quickly gather animosity, which is seen with techniques such as camping or stalling. The opposite can also garner frustration. A win condition that is high reward and relatively low risk is seen as degenerate. This is basically when a single mechanic is abused beyond what the game intended. This can be seen through aspects like spamming or infinites. With this in mind, let's move into Smash and see what characters were hated the most intensely and why. First on the list, we got Ultimate. Now I know what you're thinking, Nick, how could this be true? In Smash Ultimate, we hate everyone here. And while this is true, it's a combination of Ultimate still being a young game, as well as there being no dominant, annoyingly good character that ravages the meta. Like, yeah, Pikachu's busted and Joker's really good, but you only got 1 or 2 of each of these guys making moves. And there are so many other talented players that use a variety of other characters. You might say Wi-Fi characters like Sonic or Game & Watch or Samus are annoying, which they are, but it's not concentrated on one character. I might hate playing against Steve as much as the next guy hates playing against DDD as much as the next guy hates fighting Banjo, but there's no number one universally hated Wi-Fi character that is more hated than the others. As a result, the animosity is spread out and feels less intense than it would be if they were all against a single character. That's not to say the Ultimate community does not have its share of problems with character hate or otherwise. Many top players can attest for the fact that just because they play a certain character, they not only will never get cheered for, but they even struggle with animosity on social media sites like Twitter or Reddit. And this actually serves as a good opportunity to remind people within the Smash community to stop being a f***ing asshole. Just because someone plays a character you don't like does not mean you should transfer that hate to the person. A person is not a video game character. They have feelings. They play the game for fun like you do, and they just happen to have the most fun with said character. Don't be a dick, just let them rock. Anyway, you could say Min Min is an exception in Japan. Even with Sonic or Game & Watch, who I feel like might be the most hated in Ultimate, this Japanese VOD channel had to disable likes and dislikes on their channel since all the videos with Min Min kept getting matched disliked. Who knows, maybe she might rise up and destroy us all, but as of now, we're alright. Smash 64 was the first Smash game, and from what I can see, has not much drama in it regarding characters that are hated. If you ignore the Pikachu ban discussion in 2017. We'll get to that. I have never played Smash 64, but from what I could gather from the 64 Discord is that while Pikachu is considered the best character in the game, he's a relatively honest top tier in the Smash universe. He's got a busted recovery, and the rest of Pika's kit is solid, but not downright invalidating, Although he's considered to have a positive matchup on the whole cast, every character in the game has a great punish game on Pikachu. The biggest weakness of the character is that they're light, poor rolls, and isn't hard to combo. Pika does have good tools that he can use to win, but it's nothing that's particularly free or ridiculously easy. What usually gets the most flack is his recovery. His up B goes miles farther than any other character and is completely invincible during its startup, giving him undoubtedly the best recovery in the game, full of characters with lackluster recoveries. Back in 2017, the discussion of banning Pikachu was especially strong. Top 64 player Super Boom Fan was strongly in favor of banning Pikachu, quoting, "The oversaturation and dominance of Pikachu is what is going to kill the game, and potentially kill the game in the future." In the top 16 of Genesis 4, 9 out of 16 players use Pikachu at one point. While the game only has a few characters to begin with, a majority flocking to one shows how strong it is. While clearly being a strong presence in the meta, the feeling of resentment against Pikachu was not intense due to how cheap or annoying he was. It's just that he was really good and f***ing everywhere. As a result, he doesn't harbor this feeling of unfairness and resentment that different games saw with their top tiers. More controversial is probably Kirby, who has asshole hitboxes like his gargantuan up tilt and edge guarding potential. But again, from what I could gather from the 64 Discord, Kirby is more annoying at low level of the fight than mid or high level. He was also talked about being banned along with Pikachu, since if Pico's gone, Kirby would likely have been the dominant character in the meta and just repeated the whole process. And so yes, while this game did have this ban aspect, it took 18 years for that discussion to be seriously considered. And although the hate is technically directed at mostly these two characters, this game has had such a small roster compared to any Smash game, and so it's only above Ultimate due to this fact. And so overall, this game is a peaceful one compared to the other Smash games. After 64, the next game with the most hated character is Brawl. Even if you've never played Brawl competitively or otherwise, you know about Mennonite being a cheater-ass character. He literally put the meta in Mennonite. Literally everything competitive around the game revolved around him. He's fast, has a broken recovery, insane moves, just undoubtedly the best character in the Smash series as a whole. As you can imagine, he wasn't always liked by everyone. Pika in Smash 64 and Mennonite both have no bad matchups, but the difference is that Mennonite's moves were straight up unfair. For example, a majority of Mennonite's normals were entirely transcendent, meaning moves like his smash attacks won't clang or be cancelled out by other hitboxes. He could camp you in the air like no other because of 6 jumps, extremely fast aerials, dumb hitboxes, while also being amazing at edge guarding with shuttle loop and basically all his other specials. Mennonite won almost 3 times the amount of money in tournaments than the second most successful character, Snake, and pretty much any top 8 of any Brawl tournament was guaranteed to be half Mennonite. He was technically officially banned at one point, but because so many top players main Mennonite and would refuse to go to any tournaments without him, it was basically up to each tournament's discretion and was not universal by any means. So now that we have an idea on how busted Mennonite was, we can dive into more of the hate aspect, which isn't as clear cut. For one thing, Mennonite was everywhere. It wasn't a free dub just picking the character. Every player who didn't main him knew that matchup like the back of their hands, and so you had to actually be good with Mennonite to go far. While he is annoying to fight against due to his strengths, his strong presence and him being there since the beginning of the game as opposed to being, DLC being shoved in at the last minute, led there to being some time to develop attempts at counterplay. In fact, one of the characters that succeeded the most in that counterplay was the one character who might be the most disliked character in Brawl, Ice Climbers. One grab from these fellas meant your stock was forfeit. Although it was harder to execute the 0 to death compared to Melee, in this game it was easier to get the grab as well as being harder to separate Popo and Nana. And so as a second best character in the game, these guys were back with a vengeance. See, the Ice Climbers can 0 to death every character. And it's not just a 0 to death, by the way, it works at any percent, with some players arguing Ices could be tied with Mennonite for best in the game or actually be first themselves. Imagine how much you gotta hate these f***ers to equate them to Mennonite. And that's the thing, they had a point.
Player won't send them as far, but a great grab by Vinny. And if you don't know about the Ice Climbers grab, it's a very high grab. It's so deceptive. So Nairo literally got grabbed out of the air right there, and this is his stock.
While harder to execute than in Melee, the infinite chain grab from Ices is the easiest and most consistent infinite to perform in the entire game. A number of tournaments post Smash 4 have banned Ices altogether, solely on how unpopular they are for viewers and competitors. With Mennonite, I feel like it was inevitable for people to dislike him since he was just everywhere, but in that same regard, I think the hate was less intense since you just had to accept it. Because he was everywhere, and if you hated watching or playing against Mennonite, then you might as well have abandoned Brawl entirely. But with Ices it was different. The grab of death was viewed as cheap and degenerate by many. While not simple to execute, all they needed in theory was 3 grabs to win a game. The issue I mentioned in the beginning of the video with the degenerate aspect being strongly frowned upon is extremely prevalent with Ices, and so led to a large overall feeling of dislike. From this I can kinda get it, like while Mennonite can camp you, he can also be aggressive and flashy and look cool as hell while doing his stuff. The Ice Climbers were 2 asshole children just looking for a grab and calling it a day. Overall, with a large cast compared to the prior 2 games before it, the fact that a majority of the hate in Brawl was centralized within 2 characters showed that people were not a fan of these 2. This one more than the other. An honorable mention to Olimar as well, who was also seen as strongly disliked due to his crazy range and camping abilities. With 6 Pikmin in that game, I absolutely do not blame them. Next on the list, we have Melee, and honestly, a large factor of character hate is due to this man, tearing ass. Jigglypuff and Melee and Hungrybox are synonymous at this point due to how far this man has taken this character. Once considered a meh character, you know, early into the game's lifespan, Hbox brought this character to new heights with his style. It was slow, it was campy, and it was intricate. 3 years in a row of being the best in the world at Melee with a character that many consider to be the antithesis of Melee is actually kinda hilarious. By that, I mean Melee is considered to be a fast-paced game that is amplified tenfold with its tech skill and mobility. Jiggs, on the other hand, is very slow on the ground, has low tech skill, meaning no crazy movement options, she just kinda jumps, and will not hesitate to camp the shit out of you. There were strong controversies originating with Jigglypuff, including top players being upset and frustrated with her playstyle, some going so far as to take a break from Melee or quit entirely.
Plup arguably quit or took a break from Melee because of how boring he finds fighting Jigglypuff. If I'm also being completely honest, it's one of the reasons why I'm most likely to quit Melee too. If I ever quit the game, it will be because of Puff. Like, I don't see anything else being even remotely close to making me want to quit.
Hungrybox, being the sole tippity top tier representative of her, basically directed all that Jiggs hate into one man, which you can imagine how much that bogs a man down. But that's a different story, and what we see here is a strong dislike for a character overall. The campiness and slowness of Jiggs is just so jarring and different from the rest of the game that the Melee community would strongly agree that Jigglypuff is the second most disliked character in Melee. No, I'm just kidding. Am I? Maybe. Just like Brawl, Ice Climbers are a pair of assholes in this game. In this game, their 0 to death combo is called wobbling. This one is a lot easier to pull off with the timing compared to Brawl, and much like in Brawl, you just gotta accept that when they grab you, the stock is over. Man, you can actually see the defeat in their eyes. What was so similar to Brawl was how degenerate and almost how universally disliked it was for pretty much the exact same reasons. It was easy to pull off, it's degenerate, it's not hype. Wobbling was much more of an issue in Melee, with depending on the time period resulted in Ice Climbers being more hated than Puff, which is saying something. The controversy behind wobbling was especially strained, with 2019 being the first year in Melee's 20-year history to have majors and regionals consistently ban wobbling throughout tournaments. Both these characters have the issue of being dissimilar to what Melee is often considered: fast-paced, flashy, and mobile. As a result, a large majority of the community has been strongly against at least one, if not both, of these two characters. And finally, for the game with the most concentrated character hate is Smash 4. Without a doubt, this character has caused some of the most controversy in the Smash community ever. The winds at night whispered her name, keeping Smashers up at night in seething rage. But before we get into Bayo, let's get into how the game looked like beforehand. Smash 4, I believe, was similar to Ultimate at first, where there wasn't one notorious character that was universally hated, and rather you had a bunch of shitters here and there that had their own strengths to play around. Rosa, Sheik, Diddy Kong, Mario, Ryu, Sonic, not to mention the Wi-Fi characters that thrived here as well. Like I said, fellas, no one hates Smash characters more than Smash fans. Bayonetta, when released, was a pretty good character. The combo she could deliver from a burst option that could cross up shield could kill you at 0. The combo she could dish from an up B out of shield could indeed kill you at 0. The combo from a counter would extra kill you. You are dead if you get hit by a witch time, especially a high percent, where it's just a free ass smash attack, and that's if you're lucky and you don't get hit at 0, where you can also just die. Bayo was still just as notorious afterwards, even with the nerfs. She could still kill you with her burst options, she could still murder you with an up B, she could still destroy you with Witch Time. The big difference between Bayonetta and every other notorious character in prior Smash Bros. Games is that she was dropped as DLC, and the last character in the game at that. It's like there was a relatively defined meta beforehand. You know, we were all just getting used to Cloud being busted, and then BAM! New character in the game is broken. I felt like a shock to many, and so that frustration of learning how to deal with her towards the middle end of the game's lifespan was felt hard. As a result, this led to Bayonetta and her mains having to deal with a large share of hate in the community. If you mained Bayo in Smash 4, it was impossible to avoid being called carried or a tier whore. I think it was only exacerbated by how a lot of Bayos who hadn't gotten the best results beforehand were suddenly doing really well. Like, despite the players behind them, I don't think I'll ever forget this moment in Smash Bros. During EVO Grand Finals.
Plenty of time on the clock. Make him come to you. Put the screws to. Oh my lord! Is this how it? Oh my god!
This man monkey flipped in the air once, and as soon as Diddy got caught in his witch twist, we all knew it was over. The amount of toxicity this character saw was insane. I've seen instances of people hiding the fact that they like Bayo due to how much backlash even maining the character could get you. Posts on Reddit saying they were bullied at a local for playing Bayo. It was a bad time to be a Bayonetta fan. This shit even sprinkled onto Ultimate. Like, you could see the anger of the crowd, and when NK brought out the Bayo in this Smash Ultimate showcase, where we were seeing Ultimate being played for the first time.
Trying to edge guard against Bayonetta. It's going to be another combo and juggle off the top of the screen, and that is game. Okay, Leo as Bayo.
With the boos the crowd delivered, he said he switched right after so the crowd wouldn't hate on him. With all this, I think Smash 4 as a result has garnered the most concentrated hate out of any Smash game. I was originally thinking of Melee due to its longer history, but the amount of dislike throughout the community for one character as opposed to two in Melee led this to be the winner for me. There was Cloud in Smash 4 as well, who was busted in his own way, but he was not nearly as hated as Bayo since he was, well, Cloud Strife. So fellas, while she may not have been the most balanced character and not very fun to play against, or to watch even a lot of the times, it's still never okay to harass a person playing the character. Complain about the character all you want, but once it becomes personal, that's when you become a dick and cross the line. Like I said earlier, every fan base will have their share of the community that is more vocal with toxicity than others. What matters is that everyone can feel comfortable playing the character they want, even if they are busted. If you want to win, it makes sense to play the best character you can. There's no shame in that. Hope you learned something from this brief Smash history lesson and go forward not being toxic. Anyway, thanks for watching, fellas. Catch you later.